Coming up, a surprising interview with the frontman of an iconic band that came of age in the 1990s. There's so much to unpack with this. It's the emotional story of their biggest hit. He also shares his point of view on being a rock star father. It's very interesting. Learning from his own heartache as a child. It's a very special interview. Next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Just subscribe below to be a part of a community that is dedicated to the timeless music of the rock and roll era. And make sure to click on the bell so that you never miss out our daily features. Also, click on our link right here, up here somewhere, to check on our merch. I'm wearing one of our latest shirts. They come in all colors. This one is the Professor of Rock Experience. Again, we parody some album covers. So today is an interesting deep dive into a song that we weren't sure whether to do as a video under our series of Revelations or Bottled Lightning. The moniker's probably not that important, but it's kind of a hybrid because on Bottled Lightning, we break down the history of a beloved one-hit wonder. This resonated with our culture. And this one fits that in a way, but we go very deep in this one as well. So one-hit wonder talk is always tricky because, as I've said in the past, nobody would ever call Bob Marley or Grateful Dead or Hendrix a one-hit wonder because they only had one song that charted in the top 40. Having said that, a one-hit wonder is defined as a band or artist who had one top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. So by that term, technically, iconic 90s band Everclear fits that definition. That's why the term is one of utter confusion because Everclear has a bunch of well-known songs. They've had several number one hits on other charts. They had Santa Monica. That was number one on the mainstream rock charts back in 95. I don't want to be the bad guy. And then Everything to Everyone. That was number one on the alternative charts. That was in 1997. You try to be everything to everyone. Neither of those songs charted on the Billboard Hot 100. One of their most well-known songs is A Father of Mine. That's from their classic 90s album, So Much for the Afterglow. Father of mine, tell me where did you go? And it only went to number 70 on the Hot 100, though it went top 5 on the alternative charts, so it's confusing. In the end, does it even matter? A good song is a good song regardless if it charted or not. But it makes for fun conversation. I'm a chart geek. I know some of you are. Well, Everclear had a huge hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Their biggest song on that chart was their number 11 hit, Wonderful. It was the first single from their fourth studio album, Songs from an American Movie, Volume 1, Learning How to Smile. Lead singer Art Alexakis leaves nothing to chance on this song. The song gives us as listeners the perspective of divorce as perceived by a child. In fact, every verse of the song relates to a different stage of the divorce. In the first verse, we witness the child hearing their parents fighting as the child does the best that he or she can do to block it out, remembering what it was like before the parents started to fight. Close my eyes and I count to 10. Hope it's over when I open them. Then you go into the second verse. It describes the child going to school, putting up a facade to friends. That everything is all right at home. I go to school and I run and play. I tell the kids that it's all okay. Kind of trying to talk themselves into it. Even though in the first verse we know that it's really not okay. But going into the bridge, we hear the child lashing out at their parents, not able to accept that their parents have begun to grow apart, are now dating other people. Pretty heavy for the bright and catchy pop song that it is. I just want my life to be the same, just like it used to be. When you really listen to it, though, it absolutely breaks your heart. Anyone watching this who's been through a divorce or experienced their parents splitting up, you know that it's devastating, has a profound effect on everyone involved. Unfortunately, I've experienced it firsthand in my own life. And Everclear frontman Art Alexakis and bandmates Greg Elkland and Craig Montoya, they captured it just perfectly in this song. Again, bright and happy sounding with a blinding pain at its center. And By the end, Art holds none of that pain back in the angry, lashing vocal. I've had the opportunity to sit down with Art several times and have found him to be one of the most real and vulnerable musicians that I've ever covered. We've had some no-holds-barred, very deep conversations about everything from childhood, fatherhood, marriage. He's a great conversationalist for sure, and he's not afraid to tackle very personal experiences in his music as well as firsthand. What follows is one of my favorite conversations that I've ever had with an artist. The way Art explains his past experiences growing up without a father and how it related to having his own children. It's refreshing and honest. He tells the story of this catchy hit and gives a truly unique perspective as being a rock star dad. He was also recently diagnosed with MS and has done a lot in terms of awareness for that and so many important issues. He's a fighter. This is just one of those interviews where if you watch, regardless if you're a fan of his music, you will walk away with a new perspective and a new respect for him as a musician and as a human being. All this is next on Professor of Rock. Now, as we go into this interview, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, my favorite glasses ever. At Zenni.com, man, you can design your own glasses, then you can do a virtual try-on where you can see exactly how the eyewear is going to look on you and make sure that it matches, shape of your face. And that's with Zenni's virtual mirror feature. Check it out now at Zenni.com. Here's the interview.
Sometimes songs you have to work on. Wonderful took a long time to get together, and then couldn't get the words right. And then all of a sudden on a plane ride down from Portland to LA, I was going down and singing the vocal, and I didn't have all the song right. And I just started from scratch and wrote that whole story on that plane ride. By the time I got to the studio, after I was in the car and I'm making notes and stuff, by the time I got there, it was done. Oh, that vocal is almost one take.
I hear them fight, they say bad words and make me wanna cry.
These little kids, they hear you fight and they say, please not fight. And what's great about your song, is that you're saying that in the verses. That first verse is you're kind of saying that he's hearing the parents fight and he's going to school and he's trying to pretend like it's not.
It almost makes me cry just thinking about it. I hear bad words that make me want to cry. What can I do to make my mom and dad not fight anymore? I remember that as a kid. I remember my dad hitting my mom and my whole family fighting him and him pushing me against the wall and giving me a concussion. He didn't want to be that guy. Yeah. I know he didn't want to do that, but he was losing his family because of the way he treated his wife. He treated my mom badly, and he knows that. And I think he lived with that his whole life. And I just think my dad was damaged in a way that he just didn't have that tenacity. And I think I get the tenacity to push through a lot of my damage because of my mom. She could give it to me. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that we're vessels, man. We're carrying this stuff to give to our kids, and hopefully less damage every generation. And sometime in the future, hypothetically, they'll be perfect people. Probably not, because people are perfect.
That song, from the perspective of divorce.
Well, watching your kid, to have your own child snatched away from it and have people play games because of it, or you're playing games. And I learned something very, very important from that. I always thought I was a great father because I was so much better than my dad. I mean, admittedly, he set the bar pretty low. I never missed a father-daughter day. I missed one trick-or-treat when she was 5. One. That's the only one I ever missed. Never missed another one to the point where she goes, Dad, I don't want to go trick-or-treating anymore. And, but father-daughter dances, all that stuff, PTA meetings, hit it all. And I would turn down money. We got a $50,000 show for you to play. And I'm like, nope. Much to the chagrin of everybody else, I'm sure. But no, I walked on my family life and I wouldn't let that happen. But I learned something. Through all my first 3 marriages, I was horribly unfaithful. I wasn't dishonest with people in the business. I was straight up. I didn't lie to people. But I had this sexist thing that came from, I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was from my abuse. I'm not going to point fingers or blame. Yeah. But my addictive behavior, even though I wasn't using drugs or drinking, became sex and lying and this game of having all these relationships. I mean, there was times when I had like 6 girlfriends, like real girlfriends, still sleeping with one night stands, but I had like 6 girlfriends and I was married at the same time. And I learned something. You cannot be a great father or even a really good father if you're putting your life, your children's happiness in jeopardy by the way you're treating your partner, their mom. You can't be a great father without being a great husband. Wonderful was like, I had gone through divorce, and watching my kid go through a divorce brought it home to me as like, wow, I did this to her. And it wasn't just me. It was a lot of her mom too, both of us. But all you can deal with, you can't control what other people do. No. You can't control what you do. You can control how you react. You can be more reflective than reactive. And it took me a while to learn that. And I think writing that song really helped me make it into a physical thing.
I don't want to hear you say both have grown in a different way.
Yesterday, I flew my daughter home. She was on tour with me for a few days by herself without her mom. It was the first time we did that. And it was great. We got home, and I hadn't been home in my bed for a month and a half. And we got in bed, and my daughter climbed into bed with us, and I had this big hug of my wife and my daughter, and our arms were just entwined. And I fell asleep like that. And I literally felt like this high that I would put up there with the best drug and best sex experience I've ever had. It was just pure emotional, wow, this is it, man. I have everything I love in my arms right here. When you can hold that viscerally, just put your hands on it. There's nothing like it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment on your thoughts about this song and this interview, about art and Everclear and this heartfelt song, and tell us how a particular song helped you, as things that you went through. Let us know in the comments below. If you like our content, we would love for you to subscribe with us below. Make sure to check out our merch, check out our Patreon. Help us keep the music alive. It's very, very important. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.